This video is going to walk you through how I created this jig to make beaded inset face frames using the Kreg router bits. This jig cuts the relief right here in the face frame so that this can come and slide into it. And then you do the bead on the edge so that in the end it looks like a bead that's continuous instead of gluing the bead to the side. This is an example of what it looks like. Still need to add the drawer pulls to these. I'm going to start by cutting this 3/4 inch piece of plywood to 16 inches long, and this is going to fit in the miter gauge slot. So then I cut a 2 foot long piece of scrap to act as the fence, and then I cut these blocks to almost about 1 foot. So now I'm going to pocket hole and glue it all together. I'm not going to mark where I want the miter gauge slot piece and the fence to meet. So I'm going to put that in here. To get things started, I'm going to glue and screw in the first layer directly on the table. And that way I make sure that it's all square to the table. Now it's just like baking a cake. Just keep layering it on. Now I'm going to add the sacrificial fence out of MDF. I'm just going to screw this. This sacrificial fence is useful in case you mess up the silhouette with the bit being too high. You can just replace it so that silhouette always matches up where the cut will be. Good, so I'm going to cut a relief in that and then we'll test it out. Before cutting this, I made sure the router bit was 1/4 inch above the table, which lines up with the bead detail we'll be using. I use a square and a mechanical pencil to mark each of the corners of the silhouette of the cut. This is useful when you're lining up a piece of wood to be cut and it's covering up the silhouette. Now I'm going to use the jig to cut a notch in the vertical style. This takes 2 passes because this is a top piece, so it needs to be 1.5 inches with no 45 on the left-hand side. Now I'm cutting the 45 on one of the horizontal rails. This is the end product. The bead detail still has to be cut and added. This is going to be an end panel on the end of the cabinet. There's the whole face frame. I cut these cabinets on my CNC. It's just a home-built, open-build CNC. I'm creating some tools to enable me to quickly crank out these cabinets. So if you're interested in that, subscribe. Please like this video. And I'm going to be posting all the tools that I use to create these using a CNC on my website so others can use it. Overall, using this works really well. It's really smooth with all the weight on there. So it felt like I had a ton of control. One thing to really tighten up the fit, I layered on a little bit of blue painter's tape. So that takes up any give that was between this 3/4 like plywood and true 3/4 the slot. And then I also cut this notch because this fence probably is a little overkill. I probably would go a little thinner, or at least not do as many sheets of plywood so the clamp can come further down. But the one nice thing of all this material is it makes a lot of weight, so it's much smoother when it hits the bit.